you have this firm side that is pretty no nonsense, right? Hey, get to practice. Don't know this in enough at a time. Hey, we're going to be visible and functional in class, right? They're non-negotiables. But then there's this, I've given player X at this stop 6 opportunities. And you have kind of a general rule. As long as they're appreciative and don't take you for granted, then you're willing to go the extra opportunity, right?
If you're grateful, if you're grateful for the opportunity, if a kid makes a mistake, it's like, Coach, I am so sorry, and they mean it, then there's some non-negotiables. Like, I'm not going to be involved with people that hurt people that are weaker than them, right? Like, I'm not talking about 2 guys get into a fight. There's discipline. I'm talking about when you're hurting people. I'm not dealing with guys involved in gender violence and sexual assault and all those things. So I'm sending those over there. But I understand that people make mistakes, and to me, if you make a mistake and you're apologetic and you're a grateful person and you want to what would the world be if we all just got one shot? You know what I mean? I by the grace of God, I sit where I am today, and the amount of stupid things I've done in my life. I mean, there weren't. I know you're younger than me. There weren't cell phones around when I was in college.
I'm just a couple years older.
You look so young though compared to me. My goodness,
Prune juice.
so.
I'm totally kidding, but I am older. I'm 49.
Are you really?
Yeah. So we're close.
I didn't get myself together.
It's okay. Antioxidants, So I'm listening, and there's so many. Growing up in an educational household, believe it or not, I'm probably the dumbest one in the family. So you have these mannerisms and these kind of ideologies that are very teacher educational based, right? Meeting people right where they're at, the kind of the blank slate phenomenon where no preconceived notions, right? So where'd that come from, right? Because your bottom line is people are people, but it's deeper than that, because you have to be willing to put your accomplishments, whatever your title is, all of that momentarily goes away when you say, I'm just Matt.
Yeah.
I would be afraid to call you by your first name, right? But that's really, it seems like that's your strength, right? Is the ability to go back and forth between leadership and knowing that there's hierarchy. But listen, I'm for you. Let's do this together.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, my role is my role, right? So I'm the head football coach. So when it's time to be the head football coach, I have to be the head, like Marcus Satterfield is one of my great friends. Evan Cooper is one of my great friends. Well, I got to be the head coach. I got to run things. I have to make sure things are going well. At the same time, I have so much trust in them that I have to have the humility to also trust them and listen. So I think those things. I think that part of it is being really strong. I look at it like this. My job is to make sure that everyone that works for me or plays for me has everything they need to be successful. Hey, I need a 6'6" defensive end. Hey, I need a great nutrition plan. Making sure I get everything for everyone, and then on the flip side, once they have what they need, making sure everybody's doing exactly what they're supposed to do. And so that's a tough process, man. That's a process of holding people highly accountable every day, holding yourself highly accountable every day, having people within the organization who will call BS on you and say, no, that's wrong. Sean Patton's been with me a long time because, he's truth to power. He's going to tell me hey, this is dumb. This is wrong. Evan Cooper, he played for me, so he might do it in a different type of a way, but, he's going to tell me I'm wrong. And so I have enough people here that are going to tell me I'm wrong or tell me they disagree. And I think that Italian part of me that loves to argue, that loves to question things, loves this process of us sitting around always and being how can we do it better? How can we do it better? So I can be strong, but at the same time, I trust people that are here. They're going to hold me accountable. And I think when the players see that, none of us are in our own feelings. Coaches are usually worse than the players in terms of egos. I think that goes a long way. And then when you talk about learning, I mean, I was an educational psychology major. I believe wholeheartely in the principles of learning and of motivation. I wrote my thesis on expert-novice differences. I actually did it in football play recognition, taking that world and bringing it over here. And so, I believe that everyone can learn. My wife and I, my wife started a 501(c) here called Reading Rules to help kids with reading because dyslexia has affected our family. And so I'm someone who reads a book a week. Like I love to read, and I have a child who hates to read because of how hard it is. And so when you go through that and you have a child that has something, right? You don't want people that are operating from like a deficit model where they're like, oh, well, you can't.
Get another educational term.
Yeah. So like, I want someone who's looking at my kid like, well, he can do this and he can do this. Like, yeah, find my flaws, great. Like, and that's like, I have one rule for the staff. If you ask them like, what's this rule about players? Like, if we have an evaluation meeting, no, that's fine. But other than that, don't tell me what a player can't do. Tell me maybe what he's refusing to do. Tell me what he's not working at. But don't tell me, well, coaches are notorious. Oh, he can't do this. He can't do that. And that's why, you won't ever hear me do that in the media. You won't ever hear me because I don't need someone coaching my kids that doesn't believe in my kids. So I'm not going to coach your kids and not believe in your kids. Now, I can put him in the best positions and I can know his strengths and weaknesses, but I'm never gonna blame them for the result. And so all these things kind of all tie in if you think about it, like this concept of family, this concept of like kind of ties into brotherhood and this concept of like learning and education, finding what's right in people. It all and what you hope happens is it builds a psychologically safe place where like I'll tell people like we are a caring.
Talked about Maslow before, right?
Yeah,
the hierarchy.
And I've since begun to study it because it's like, yeah, I've heard it, but like I think that's really, really important. And to your point, like you can't begin to excel until you feel safety, till you feel like, hey, I'm free to make mistakes. And this generation is like when you and I played, you made a bad play, you had to worry about seeing it in film the next day. Now, if you play now, like you got to worry about like getting on the bus and you're a meme. So it's like, I want to build a place, at least within these walls, that is psychologically safe. Yet at the same time, I tell our guys, this is a caring but not coddling environment.
That's one of the greatest lines you've uttered since.
Well, I stole it from somebody, so I stole it from Ron Carson, who's a graduate of UNL and has been a donor to the. And so we were talking one day. He was talking about his business, and he said, "Hey, we're a caring, not coddling environment." He said, we're a place where high achievers come to be around high achievers. And I was like, done. I said to him, actually, I said, I'm going to steal that. He said, go ahead. I said, so you
followed it up with the lion reference, right?
So
see, I listen.
Yeah. So, but that's it. Like if you break yourself into that, like, hey, like I am a lion, I'm not a sheep. And then obviously I referenced the book, but like I have to say that to myself all the time. Like you're not going to be a lion every day. Like there's gonna be times where you're a sheep. And so the thing that I've tried to like I've talked to like Tommy Hill. I'll be like, hey, watch me in the weight room sometime. Like if I'm doing something in the weight room and I don't get what I'm supposed to get, like I will say the worst things to myself. And like things you're probably not supposed to, positive self-talk and all that. Well, I believe in that in the inner dialogue, but exteriorly, man, I'm like, you're soft, you're a sheep, because it's like, it's a choice. Like I want to make the choice to be here. And so many of us, we live our lives where, man, we're like letting David Goggins and Jocko Willink and all these guys on Instagram motivate us. But are we actually going out and doing what they're doing? Like, to me, I'm not going to go run 100 miles. So that's just, you might not believe that, but it's true. So, but in my own way, what are the things that I need to do to be a lion? What are the things my players need to do to be lions? And then calling ourselves out when we're sheep.
So kind of along that line, just to stay with it, there's this balance of like this meekness and kind of humility with the ability to step on the gas. Where did the competitiveness come from, right? You constantly have this ability to kind of clap back. You've got a response. It seems like your hands are always up.
That is what that is. I mean, that is true. Like you look, that is what meekness means. Like sometimes we think it's weak, but I talk about humble confidence. Like you have to be humble enough to prepare and confident enough to perform. And so, like either you're a competitor or you're not. I talk about us being the toughest, hardest working, most competitive team in the country. Like I can't say we're going to be the fastest or the biggest, or we're not going to be the most well coached or the smartest. I can't say those things, but we can be tough. Like we can have the mental and physical strength to do what we're supposed to do at all times. We can work hard. We can do a little bit extra, and we can compete. We can try to win everything we do, and we can also at the same time never come in second to ourselves. So, like that competitive model. Like I go play golf. I hate golf. I absolutely hate it. I'm hitting an 8. I'm putting it in the water. I'm hitting an 8. All of a sudden, he's like, all right, let's play for something. All of a sudden, now I'm bogey. I'm par. Like I don't like to exercise. I can't stand it. All of a sudden, they're like, hey, let's go play pickleball this morning at 6 a.m. I'm there. Like I like competition. I like community. I like being around people. Like people will say, Coach, I saw you out at the farmer's market. what are you doing at the farmer's market? I like community. I like, coach, I saw you at the tavern. I saw you at the restaurant. I like community. I like being around people. I don't like sitting in my house by myself. I like competition. I don't like, I don't like to go for a run, but I once ran a marathon because someone dared me to and it was a challenge. So that's just the way I'm wired. I know my strengths. I also know my weaknesses. So I try to play to my strengths and then work on my weaknesses.